Then he looked at me and told me, Janet, in this whole college in your class, if there's anybody who should leave here with a 4.0 GPA, it is you. I said, why?
What's your role at that time? Because now you're no longer, now when you move from internship into pastoral, what's your role?
So immediately I moved into pastoral. After being a pastoral trainee, I was sent out to theological school.
Oh.
Yes, and chapels continue to do that because again, remember I was in campus, I was just being around. So how am I going to be speaking, preaching when I don't have that training as a pastor? So,
but the Holy Spirit can use you.
The Holy Spirit can use you, but even some of my good friends, to keep saying after they went to theological school, they said, God forgive us for what we did before. You still need the tools. Yeah. You still need the tools to be able to do the work. So I went to theological school for 3 years. I did my master's in divinity.
What?
I chose to do my studies in Kenya. We were given options. Pastor M chose to do his in America. So he went to Fuller. I went to, it's now called Africa International University.
Next.
Yes,
That's what it's called.
yes, yes.
What did it stand for?
Nairobi Evangelical Graduate School of Theology.
Okay.
So I go in, I was a new bride, and I'm grateful that I did 1 year. I got married in 95, but I joined school in 96.
Okay.
And I was, again, at the chapel, there was a couple who had gone straight from marriage to theological, and immediately they told me, don't. Take a year out to understand what it means to run your home and everything, because theological school will be fast. So I fast forward, I go to theological school, and the first thing I entered, there were bishops. Remember now I'm in my 20s, late 20s.
Yes.
And this was just after the genocide. So there were guys coming in from all over. Bishops had come, and next, maybe they thought this is a good time to also be in school, because they're out of their country, they're here. So I enter and I find people with collars. And me, I'm here, a girl just coming from chapel, I'm in jeans and sneakers. And I entered the class and I thought, oh my goodness. And then there are people who had done their undergrad as in theology. And so I'm sitting and I'm feeling so intimidated. And also feeling very misunderstood, because some of them had come from very traditional churches. And me, I've come from a space where I'm allowed to speak, I'm allowed to talk, and I'm a woman.
Are there other women in that class?
Yes, yes.
But
at that
few.
time, there were, yes, there were. And they were not pastors. There were women who were maybe doing things in curriculum, but not, I don't remember any women in my class who were pastors, had come from a pastoral thing. And so very misunderstood. We've come from a church at that point. We used to be told, you people only preach a 30-minute sermon, and people have come. You know, you should give them 1 hour. And was seen as this really crazy church in those days. But I entered and I was so intimidated. And one lecturer asked me, what? He found me sitting, Dr. Kasali. He found me sitting one day and I asked me, what is it? And I told him, I don't know if I'm in the right place. Because one, Greek, I'm not even Greeking it. So gee, what? And he looked at me and told me, Janet, in this whole college in your class, if there's anybody who should leave here with a 4.0 GPA, it is you. I said, why? He said, number one, you don't have kids. You're a new bride. Your husband works in town. He leaves every morning, meaning you have the whole day to read and to do anything you want. You don't have people running around you. 2, you speak English. Some of these guys are coming from a francophone country. 3, you have your local church in Kenya, and they love you, they're backing you up. And he went on several things. I said, why would you not have a 4.0 GPA? And then remember, I'd come from primary where I was safe.
Yes.
So I'd just doing my first semester. After this conversation, a week later, I got my first exam results. I got a B in Greek 1. And I'm excited. I was actually dancing. I was expecting a C. So I'm dancing and I meet another lady. And Phoebe asked me, what are you dancing about? I said, I got a B. You know what? Greek 1. She said, shame on you. Okay. That is like being happy about getting 100% in ABCD. You still have Greek 7 to go and you're here dancing. And then she says, even A's are there for people to get. That was the first time I sat down and I thought,
It's undone the primary.
all this time I think I've been operating average,
Yes.
intentionally and consciously. First time I ever thought, I actually want to get an A.
I want
To get an A. And I worked hard. And I worked hard and I had fun and I still had, because of having done many things in campus, I was a student, I was helping, so even now when I was doing my master's, I was doing my school, we started running a youth program for all the youth in the college, because there are some people who had young or teenage children. So every Friday we had a youth thing going on in wherever we had concert, we were doing things. And when we finished, I got a 3.98. I topped for the first time in my life. In fact, I remember getting my second B and I was upset.
Change.
And I thought, what did I do wrong? And I sat down. No, for a change, I was arguing with the teacher. No, I want. So that completely shifted and from then on till now, I am A's. I look for A's anytime I'm studying. So in terms of studies, I've done my master's in divinity, and very grateful that I aced that. I was given scholarships to go to Wheaton, but again, I knew God had called me to Nairobi Chapel. So people were very shocked when I came back. Then
so in this time when just finish first and
yes. So when it comes to my education, I'll just say this in a line, and not so much to brag, but just saying the power of undoing something that sometimes you make a decision and it can handicap you for life without you knowing it. And for me, that thing of primary being safe in the center became my mode of operation in many ways, so that you would never see me in the foreground. You never see me asking for positions to do things. So long as I got this chance to do one thing, I'm good. Until that time now when I went to school and these two people talked into my life and they said, if you don't get a 4-point or close, or you don't lead your class, you'll answer to God why. Because you have no excuse. That's the first time. And so I did that. And then later,
what does school do for those of us who haven't been to theological school, but we read the Bible? What would you say now is the difference that school did for you? Because you were preaching in high schools before. What did this thing do for you? That there's a lot of churches that are coming up that don't have per se people who've gone to those theological schools. What I want to hear from you, okay, now that I did this, this is how it bettered me. Or it didn't do anything for me.
I would say it's almost like, and this may not be a good analogy, I can bake. Even today I can bake for you. And I can ice it. But there are those who can bake. And then my cake will see your cake and my cake will run away.
Is it cake?
So there's a way that there are things you know, but then because again, remember it's a high responsibility that God gives you. That by the time I'm standing to speak to people, I better know I have heard from God and I'm using the right tools, not to speak my words, but to be able to break it down in. So there are technical things, even biblically, that tools that you need to have. Being taught even issues that are, even church history. What are some things that went wrong, we did right? Why are the denominations how they are today? So that, because when I'm in that space, when I meet an Anglican, I understand where do they do what they do? And I'm not judgmental. When I meet somebody who's a Methodist, why are they, they had all these methods. That's why that came. This is their history. And then even knowing how to, not just the preaching, there's a lot more. It's like being that professional cake, they should have a name for them, where you just have a cake, a show-stopping cake.
Yes.
You don't even want to cut it because of how it has been done. So me, I can bake, I can do all that, but it's not the same as that.
Okay.
So for me, there's a lot more, especially if you're standing up to be a pastor. It's not just God called me, and I love people, and I love God, and you'll understand.
Okay.
there's a lot of training to be able to do that.
Okay, let's take a break. When we come back, let's continue from then the growth of chapel into now into the other spaces, into the different churches.